Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends. I am the governor. That is the media mogul, Matthew Phillips. This is the Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder Fighting Talk TKO Knockout Show review of. I will just fly straight out of the traps with it, Matt. The greatest match I have ever seen. How did you feel about it?
It was, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have said that. And Frank Warren, when you think about how many years he's been in the game, 40 years plus, so it was the greatest fight he's ever seen live to be ringside at. That speaks volumes. It was just, I think when looking back now on this trilogy, everything about this trilogy has been unpredictable. Yes. In that, as we said on Friday when we were doing the preview, everyone thought Fury would probably get beat in the first one. Yep. Then you have the great Undertaker moment, don't you? That's
yes, you do.
It's Wilder the draw. Then in the second fight, everyone thinks, well, what's going to happen there? And then Fury puts on a masterclass and stops Wilder, which no one really saw coming.
No, they didn't. No.
Then it's certainly in that fashion anyway. And in the third fight, bloody hell, you've had 5 knockdowns.
Just look, it was such an unbelievable match that I'm glad I set the alarm to wake up at 4. And B, I've watched it back, as I was saying off air before we started, to yourself, about 8 to 10 times already. It's not even outside the weekend officially yet, really. I mean, it's Monday night now.
Yeah.
Nearly 10 times. I can't get enough of it. It blew me away, exceeded expectations of what I felt the fight was going to be. And you're right, this whole trilogy has been it's been storybook and film worthy. To Guy is champion, then is stripped of the belts, goes on a spiral. Gets himself, he gets out of shape, and he's self admitted. He's had mental health issues, he had weight control issues, all of the things about Tyson. Then he gets himself back into shape, goes into a match with a guy that can knock your head clean off your shoulders, gets his head knocked clean off his shoulders. But you've got a referee that is true to his word, lets him not only get up, but carry on the fight. Many referees would have looked at the bloke on the floor with his eyes at the back of his head, waved it off there and then. Yes, the slight bump in the film, but it's a cliffhanger for film number 2. Is obviously the points decision. Then the second match is just as good. When he comes back in and he boxes him to death, and then This is what the Rocky films should have been. So the first Rocky was great. The rest you can all go, yeah. This was Tyson Fury, Wilder 3 in the film trilogy. You'd be going, wow.
And Wilder was like a clubber lang, isn't he? Ferocious.
Yes. And then you get the bit at the end where he's still a bad guy because he refuses to shake his hand, refuses to be sportsmanlike.
I know.
Love that in a way, because it's like true heel, true bad guy.
Yeah. I mean, look, Wilder comes out of the trilogy with loads of respect from everybody, be it mainstream fans, diehards, the hardcore.
100%.
Everyone has got real respect for him. But that just that does leave a sour note. If he turned around and said, we've had 3 fights now, I've not really been in any of them.
Yes.
I've got to hold my hand up and say Fury's the better man. Everyone go, Deontay Wilder, what a great guy. And then you look forward to him going on and wanting to watch him again. But the fact that he came up with all the conspiracy theory stuff, which was just we all said at the time, this is absolute nonsense. You've just been beaten by a better fighter, and Fury's proven it yet again. And Fury went over there to shake hands with him, and he said, I don't want to do respect. I don't want to do sportsmanship. It's quite interesting to me that obviously he had that new corner, as we were talking about Friday. Malik Scott was in there with him. And then after the fight, Mark Breland, who was the corner man that Deontay sacked, because he blamed him for not letting him go out on his shield. At least Malik Scott let him go out on his shield. He just posted a very simple 30-second video of Breland just on his own, doing his own little self-spar, his own little bodywork in the ring, fighting on the back foot. It's almost like he was trolling about words. This is what you should have been doing, just fighting on the back foot now.
To be fair he was. We can question the boxing tactics a couple of times from both fighters at points. Yeah. Fury again showing he's got a chin, or a much better chin than most people give him credit for, if it was ever in doubt at this point. I know coming into the Wilder trilogy, it was a big question mark, Fury's chin.
He can take a shot. We know he can take a shot. It was whether or not And we said in the Friday show, he loses focus. He becomes sometimes it's too easy for him. He might be thinking of something else.
Yes.
And we saw that because Wilder was very lucky to get through the third round. Really lucky. If that had been 30 seconds before, the referee would have stopped that because he was out on his feet. Next round, Fury's down twice. Just because he got overconfident, was probably trying to finish the fight. Suddenly finds himself face on with Wilder on the ropes, walks into a hell of a shot which landed on his left, just like above his left eyebrow.
But that is also heavyweight boxing at its finest. You've got big hitters, and you can at any moment go from winning a unanimous points decision to being on your ass and out for the count because you simply walk into a hook you didn't see, and
that's why
there's weight behind it. That's why
that's why people love it. But I mean, it's interesting that as everyone comes out the fight and everyone's giving respect to Deontay, and rightly so, that's all they're saying about him. He actually brought nothing else to the fight. He went to the body. You probably noticed that was obviously their tactic, wasn't it? From round one, they went to the body, which we on Friday we said he'd come out and it's his way. Yeah. But he that was it. But then he abandoned that after about 3 rounds. He was obviously trying to go to the body to try and set up the big right hand. And we said on Friday that very rarely does he have a setup shot. He's just literally trying to fire the big shot down the pipe, which actually did work. Fair play to him. But there was nothing else in there. His skill set is so below average, yet he just has this above elite power.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, it kind of played out how I almost sort of said it would on Friday. I said he'd come in, he'll be looking to he'll have a setup shot. He'll be looking to use it in the first 4 to set it up and get out of there. Yeah. But this new technique, this new way of boxing that he's now brought in the new coaching team to give him, which I believe was the setup shot, because as we said, he didn't have one before. No, when the bullets start 5, you forget it. So after round 3, you go back to what you know.
Revert to type, absolutely. And he's a bit long in the tooth.
Yeah,
they said that he's 35 going. He's going to be 36 by the end of the month. It's quite old for
That's what you said,
yeah. Like we said, Muhammad Ali was in a downward spiral at that point. Went 3-3 in those 6 fights when he became 36. But he was. I mean, credit to him. He hung on in there, Wilder. I mean, he hung on in there, just trying to throw that shot. That's all he had. I mean, Fury gives everything to you. His ring IQ is fantastic. Yeah. Like we said, he can fight orthodox. He can go into southpaw if he wants. The knockout punch to end the fight was on the ropes, fighting inside. Wilder can't do any of that. He doesn't throw anything inside at all. No. And fair play to Tyson for getting up twice to win the fight. I mean, when he went down twice, I was thinking, oh my God, he's going to lose it. He's going to lose it.
Heart of a lion. Heart of a
lion.
Greatest of all time. We'll have the conversation one day. We may have it now, but you have to have these performances to put yourself in the conversation of greatest of all time.
I think everyone is saying that he's the greatest of all time is difficult to say. I think you'd have to look at that a few years down the line. Certainly the greatest of this era. But at the moment, we've got to say, he's got to fight Joshua. But now Joshua is almost damaged goods. Now he's lost twice.
That's what I said.
There's nothing else for him to do. I mean, I suppose Usyk is maybe. It's gonna be.
It'll be the winner of AJ versus Usyk, and from a British point of view. From a British point of view, I think you're probably if White gets through Otto Wallin, then you're going to see that, because whoever wins that fight is going to become the mandatory to the WBC, and he's going to have to deliver that. That's not a competition.
I mean, I know you don't particularly rate White, do you?
But I think
that's going to be. I'd be interested to see what channel that lands on, actually, because White's a DAZN fighter now, I think. So Eddie Hearn will be in the play with Warren. They've never worked together as far as I can remember.
I can imagine that going well.
It'll be a stadium show. You would have to think that would be next summer. Stadium show, spring into summer. I would have thought probably Wembley. You'd be looking at for that one. Something else to get excited about. But there's not much competition out there for Fury, really. I mean, we'd have all been looking forward to Joshua if he'd got through Usyk, but he didn't.
David Luiz, you got Luiz.
Oh, David Ruiz.
Ruiz.
Yeah.
You did what I did. You slipped into football mode.
Yeah.
David Luiz. He could fight David Luiz. I think he could do anything in that bloke, to be fair. At a level.
Andy Ruiz. Now that could be a fight actually Wilder might take. I think the two are friends, but there's still there's probably more fights for Wilder coming out of this loss than there actually is for Fury. Because we're thinking about what competition is there. What competition is there now for Deontay? There's AJ. They're both coming off losses. You've got, like I say, Andy Ruiz, former champion. Dillian White potentially. We'll see. He's going to be out of action probably until summer next year. Let's see what happens with him. But this I'd like to see Wilder Joshua. I think that'd be a great fight to watch. That's just
too heavy, two knockout punches going. Yeah. I think Wilder would beat. I've never rated Joshua coming out from the amateurs. I've always said I think he's never going to be a great boxer. I think he's
amateurs. Joshua. There was an argument. A lot of people actually thought in the Olympics he actually lost his first round fight. The very first one he had. I think it was to the Italian. I can't remember now. It was almost 10 years ago. Very close. Yeah, it was really, really close. I think he got a hometown decision that day. And I actually think all the other fights he won quite comfortably. But I do feel like that was probably a hometown decision.
Yeah. And it's ironic because obviously the very fight that soured me on Dillian is the very fight that soured me on AJ. So both boxers in my eyes come out of that fight with me souring on them because Dillian had AJ and lacked the killer instinct. Yeah. AJ was rocked by a boxer that he had no business being rocked by. You felt, Dillian's come back and he's done some damage reputation to his damage restoration to his repair, and that's what Deontay and that is what AJ will have to do after USAC. Whereas Tyson now can just sort of sit pretty and wait for the money to come to him, because he's the one that everyone's going to try and get on the card to be with, because he's the best in this era, the best in this decade, the best since Lennox Lewis for me, without a shadow of a doubt.
Rob Holmes saying there, Gypsy John on the radio today saying Usyk or nothing. I get that. Usyk's come up from cruiserweight where he was undisputed, now holds all the belts other than the WBC, so that makes the most sense to make that fight. But the problem we've got is boxing suffered a little bit of all these rematches. So we can't go straight into Fury and Usyk because now he's tied in with Joshua. And then, we've had this succession of 3 fights with Wilder. It just blocked it all up a little bit. It'd be nice to see them have different opposition. Then you see the second fight someone else. Then you might see the third fight. They're working their way through the rankings. But we're just seeing it in conveyor belt style, which I don't think helps anybody particularly.
It's ironic, isn't it? Because that first fight is the fight that's caused all of the issues, because if that was given the way it should have been given, you'd have had the rematch, the mandatory rematch from Deontay activated, second fight done and dusted. The third fight never exists. Because you had that bad, and it was a bad decision in fight 1, you then have the actual, there's money to be made here because the world think you were robbed, so here's money, let's have the fight. Because Deontay didn't have to do the second fight, but he did from a point of view of the world know that I was beaten and I have to prove myself.
Yeah, because of this warrior mentality that he's got. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think there was no rematch clause in there. But again, and then Deontay gets beaten, and then he goes to the arbitration thing.
Because there is a rematch in the champions clause, and that's one thing you'll never get away with from boxing now. Champions want rematches if they lose. They want that insurance that if they do get, like a David Ruiz steps into the ring with you and takes your belt, you can have the rematch that take it back, whereas you're not left sort of high and dry. Deontay, as we sort of head towards the climax of the show, boxing wise, came out with me with a lot more respect than I gave him before and he said it went into it. But as the sportsman, I'm all for you talk crap before the fight to big it up to make you money. You then get into the ring and try and kill each other, but ultimately after the fight, it's hugs, it's kisses, it's respect, because you're both in there feeding your families, and that's what you're there really to be doing, is feed your family.
We said on Friday, didn't we? Teddy Atlas, the American trainer, was kind of likening this fight for Wilder to George Foreman, where he would come, he was the bully that got bullied, and he would come back, and of course we were saying that Foreman came back as this reformed character. The end of this fight was a great avenue for Wilder to become this reformed character, but I think there'd been so much bad blood and he'd come up with so much nonsense, which I think probably deep down was just him not accepting the defeat, that he probably felt he couldn't do that. I feel like he'd have got a lot more money in the bank off the back of actually coming out and being sporting, but it's not. He didn't do it. It's a shame because he didn't really provide much in the fight other than he hung in there with the heart of a warrior, trying to land that right hand. He didn't really show anything else.
No, and the sportsman me gets it in that moment. You're feeling it, because after the fight, he has come out and said, clearly, Fury was the better man. I'll go away and I'll reconsider what I've done, how I approach it. But obviously, but that's post out of the ring. I would like to have seen in the ring. But hey, I can also get it as the competitive. You know me, I'm very competitive. Chip on my shoulder about everything. I take everything personally when it's about my professional life, because that drives me. And I suppose Deontay's no different.
Years down the line, they might become friends. Don't forget Tyson bit Evander Holyfield stuff.
Jesus, yeah.
They're good mates now. So you never say never.
It's true. Have you seen the stuff after the fight with Lennox Lewis and Tyson Fury?
Yeah. I saw
that. I just love Lennox Lewis. He was the boxer that really got me into boxing. So anytime I can see Lennox Lewis on my TV screen, I'm just like a kid again. It's like
I remember watching Lennox's first ever fight, professional on ITV. It was in Birmingham, I think, against a guy called Al Malcolm. So he was coming off the back of the Olympics. But I think he boxed for Canada, didn't they? And then he came for the UK. But yeah, he had a great career. Yeah.
Fantastic. What I would give to just put one of these boxers back into the other one's prime, just to see Fury versus Lennox Lewis, because I think that would have been a hell of a fight, because both could box. And both could land a shot. And Fury had some power this time that I didn't expect him to have a little bit. And that's obviously the coaching team he's put around. You mentioned it on the Friday show yourself. He's put
the comp gym. Yeah.
I
mean, we saw elements of that in the second fight. As we were saying, the Kronk gym is all about knockouts, and even Sugar Hill Stewart said it. Kronk gym is all about knockouts. It was started by Manny Stewart in the 60s in Detroit, and Sugar Hill's his nephew. They just like to see knockouts. Yeah, I mean, again, look, Wilder came in quite heavy this time, didn't he? 238 pounds, which is about 17 stone. Again, that kind of said, I'm going to go for it in the first 3 rounds.
Which we knew.
His stamina was going to be... It probably actually helps him last longer in the fight. Unfortunately, the downside of that is he took more of a hell of a beating because he was in the fight longer.
Yes.
If you'd done a knockout in the 11th round, you'd have been quids in, I think.
I've heard some people say that another trainer would have waved this off.
What Mark Breland did. Deontay got his moment. He wasn't going to win. He didn't want that, did he? Which is why Breland got the elbow from the second fight. He wanted to be knocked out on the floor.
He wanted to die on his sword, and he did it. And he did it. Yeah, absolutely. What I loved after the fight. Sorry, you go on.
What was it? Did you like the Walking in Memphis song?
Well, I did when he changed the words to fake. And what I liked was how the corner was telling, the post fight press conference. I was telling Tyson, this is the time you become top dogs. Top dogs find that uppercut. They find that jab. These are the rounds you become top dog. You knock him out now. And I just loved that because you're winning on points.
Yeah. Trying to finish it, we were talking, a lot of people were saying that, and you said it as well. There wasn't a lot of technical expertise in there. It was almost becoming like a brawl. And if you look at the CompuBox stats, the American broadcasters provide from ringside, Fury abandoned his, we know Wilder abandoned his jab after about 3 rounds because he wasn't getting any success. And then, Fury trying to finish the fight abandoned it. And then from about round 8, 9 to 10, that's when Sugar Hill said, bring it back.
Yeah.
And that's when you saw the end of the fight, really.
This is when fighters become top dogs. These are the rounds they become top dogs. And I love that. That's a great little saying. And I love the mindset, the aggressiveness, because you're ahead on points. You're winning the fight. If you're hanging in there now, you're retaining your title. Some boxers would have retreated a little bit and gone into a hanging on, a hugging match, as I call it. But not their corner. It's all about, this is the time you become a top dog.
Exactly. And that's kind of the mentality that Manny Stewart had when he started the Kronk Gym. And Sugar Hill, cut from the same cloth. He's his nephew. He was a policeman in Detroit while he was training to be a boxing coach. You've got the biggest murder rate in the city, so you've got in the country. So you've got to be a tough guy to be walking around in the Kronk Gym. That showed in the 11th round, didn't it?
Absolutely. We've got the talking tactics time in 9 minutes' time. So final thoughts. Crowd. What did you make of the crowd?
It was a difficult one, wasn't it? Obviously, Bob Arum was a bit upset, I think, that Biden didn't lift the flight ban on UK fans to come over there. Apparently, Arum had met with Bob had met with senators to try, a few weeks before the fight, to try congressmen to try and get it lifted. He's actually quite good friends with Biden, but it didn't happen. Then he did lift it, of course, but it's not until November, so that was too late for the fight. I think it'd have been even more dramatic if you'd had the Brits in there.
Is it the fact the Brits weren't there doesn't really bother me. Heavyweight boxing is about hugging matches as well. You're going to get a lot of rounds where you get a lot of hugging and a lot of people turn themselves off from heavyweight boxing because of that. When you've got the big hitters, you need the hugging rounds because it does a lot of things to the body, but also buys you a bit of time. And I just felt at times they were booing, because they wanted the two people to go, the two boxers to go at it.
But that was going to be exactly. I mean, there's probably a lot of mainstreamers in there. You get this in UFC. A lot of people boo stuff when they go to the floor because they don't want to see grappling. They want to see knockouts. But that was going to be Fury's tactics all along. Going to use that weight, almost 50% advantage. He was always going to use it. And Wilder was knackered. I was trying to get some respite. So,
absolutely, they both need, and that's heavy. But all heavyweights they will do that because, as I say, it not only buys you time, but it also if you're the heavier fighter, you're weighing and you're applying the pressure to the muscles that sap the other fighter, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to land your punches, dodge the punches, and everything. So I don't know. I just felt at times
it was good. It was a good end to the trilogy. I mean, you think of great trilogies in boxing. Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward was a great trilogy at the lighter weights. I mean, two of those three fights, both of them ended up in hospital. And they're about to make a set. Might have seen the film The Fighter, Mickey Ward's story. And they're about to make the second one of that, I believe, Fighter 2, around that trilogy. So this will go down with those great trilogies. Your Ali Frazier. All those great fights.
Absolutely. Well, there we go. We've reviewed it. We've previewed it, reviewed it. Job done and dusted. If you like your boxing, do obviously subscribe to the channel. We'll get more boxing shows for the big fights coming up. I've really enjoyed chatting boxing with yourself, Matt. It's not often you get to talk boxing with people, particularly these days. So yeah, absolutely loved it. But yeah, if you do like it, subscribe. We'll be back in 7 minutes time for Talking Town Extra Time. More Shrewsbury reaction. Talking Town does it all. And in fact, as the GOAT said at the top of the show, love the Gov and Matt. Turn their hands to anything. 10 out of 10 for me. Absolutely. Fisherman, we respect Tyson as a great fighter, but when you put him against Joe Lewis, Joe Bogner, Muhammad Ali, Joe Fraser, there's no competition. Eddie Spaghetti, great stuff. Yes, absolutely. See you in 6 minutes time now. With love, with care. He's the Mogul. I'm the Gov. We'll see you.